I got an idea for Tuesday. So for Tuesday, since it's Time Travel Tuesday, we usually at least try to crowbar in, a story from your past. Can we really delve deep into this tattoo situation? Maybe we can call the tattoo shop that actually gave you the tattoo and ask them about it.
What fucking situation is about it? There's no fucking conversation anymore. It's on the arm. It's not gonna get touched. End of fucking story.
It is going to get touched when we do our live
It's not
show.
getting touched.
Well, it's going to be erased, and then you're going to replace it with Streamer.
Bullshit. Bullshit.
They both start with S. They both start with S.
Fuck you.
They both start with S.
Fucking asshole.
It'll be easy to write over.
Good night.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Gang off.
Bye, Perry. Thanks for hanging in there, guys. Happy birthday, Jill, by the way. Hope you had a good birthday. Oh, don't forget. I forgot to say this on the thing. So next Sunday, we'll plug this throughout the week. Next Sunday, next Sunday is Subscriber Sunday. I meant to give the email address again. Scott, if you're out there, can you just type the email address in so people can international people who are looking to have a call from Perry if you live outside of North America. Email our I don't know why I don't know that email off the top of my head, and I don't have a Chiron for it right here, but Scott will post it in the chat, or I'll just look it up real quick. No, he didn't remember the eggs from the last stream. I didn't get a call about it. I assume the eggs are still in there, as well as the wolf puppet is still in there too. I would imagine because he didn't call about it. All right, I think Scott might have went to bed or something. Let me get that email for you. It's embarrassing that I don't know this off the top of my head. Or you can contact me however you would contact me. But anyway, if you want to be a part of International Subscriber Sunday, I want to do a little bit of, and we'll do some on the fly too. But email, I'm just going to give you the channel email address. I mean, you can message the Perry Caravello Live account. Okay, Perry on Twitch Live at gmail.com. That's Perry on Twitch Live at gmail.com. If you're an international fan and you want to get a call from Perry, oh, there it is. Yeah, so he is there. That's it. For the international numbers, and just if you can just do a little bit of research into like what I know to dial out from the US it's 011, then your country code, and then I think we dropped the zero code. So just I think we could figure it out. So just give your phone number, a brief, your name, the phone number, and then a brief description about what you would like to ask Perry about. Just it's not like a heavy screening process, but just give us an idea of what you'd like to talk about, and we'll do that. And don't worry, your number is safe. It's not going to be given out or anything like that, even though Perry does occasionally dox people when he repeats it back. But I do mute him, so your number is safe with us. Yeah, name, number, topics of conversation. Scott will put up the email one more time, and you'll see it in the chat window. Perry Caravello Live is Scott, by the way. It's not me. Some people say it's me. I don't know how many things some people think I can juggle at once, but I absolutely cannot handle the chat on top of that. So thankfully we have Hero, you have Joey and Scott taking care of things. That's it. Name, number, tops conversation to perryonTwitchLive@gmail.com. Anytime between now and Sunday, but the earlier they come in, I'd like to get a healthy list together for Sunday. And next Sunday, I assume, hey, Dustin, next Sunday, I assume is going to go long. Because the thing about Subscriber Sunday is the calls put a delay in the queue for the tip comments. So that's why it ends up going long because, we're so backed up. And then eventually people stop donating because they don't feel like waiting for their tips to come in. But get a fart check for me? I have no fart in my ass, to quote a very good friend of mine. But yeah, next Sunday, like Liz says, it's a drink. I might actually have a drink next Sunday. I think I usually have a rule where I don't drink on the stream. I might make myself a big fat Bloody Mary at the start of the stream next Sunday. It'll be a 3 p.m. start for us in New York, wherever else you are. Noon start. I hope it's okay for I felt like noon is a fair meeting point to cover as many time zones as possible. I don't think I'd go any earlier than that. I don't want to do like a 10 a.m. start time. But yeah, I don't know, maybe a drunk Tom. Thing is, here's the thing. So I have not been drinking as much lately because this time last year, I was doing it up like crazy with the Bloody Marys. And like right around this time last year when we all felt like it was like the end of the world, and I was going to the liquor store, I was buying like top shelf vodka, and I started making my own Bloody Mary mix, which I perfected and I think is very good. I actually use the Vitamix and start with a V8 base, not the V8 Bloody Mary mix, that's garbage, but like regular V8. Pour that in there. I would blend bacon, like high-end bacon in the Vitamix. I'd blend bacon and I'd blend the horseradish. In fact, I have a very good friend in San Diego that's in the chat that will definitely know my stickler attention to Bloody Marys because I learned it from him. But anyway, so I'd crush up the bacon in the Vitamix. I'd add in pepper. Horseradish gets crushed in the Vitamix too, because I always hate when they mix in horseradish and you can because horseradish is hard to blend, but the Vitamix will kill anything. Like it'll just, no, Worcestershire sauce for sure. That's in there. I have like some various season. I put some. I had a very special blend of hot sauce that I would put in there, and it would all go in. I'd crush the ice too, and celery. I normally hate celery in a Bloody Mary because I hate celery. Period. I think it's disgusting. I know it's not like like peanut butter for me is my number one thing that I hate, but it's not like that. But I don't like the taste. I think the seasoning of celery is better than actual celery, so I blend celery as well, pulverize it in the. I could post the recipe. I haven't made it in a year because I overdid it. Like I was doing Bloody Marys every single day, and I was getting more and more ambitious with them, where I was like building. Because to me, Bloody Mary is supposed to be a meal. I'm gonna be at Perry's. To the person I'll be at Perry's sometime late next month. We don't have an exact shooting date, but sometime late next month, early June, late May. So yeah, I should do a video of my recipe. It was bad. It was so good that I started bragging about it. Right, so I started bragging about it. I don't post that much on Instagram anymore, but I was posting like if you go to my Instagram at Tom Brennan NY, you'll see some of my Bloody Marys you don't have to go that far back because I haven't posted much since then, but you can see some of the Bloody Marys. But I'd have like cheese skewers. One day I went to McDonald's and I created something I called the McBloody, where I had a skewer of chicken nuggets and then a skewer of like cheeseburgers like cut out, and I put it in the Bloody Mary and I called it the McBloody. It was fantastic. But I'm trying to think what else I put in there. Anyway, but I came up with my own thing because I was buying Bloody Mary mix and I was like, I wasn't loving the mixes, and I was like, you know what, I can make my own Bloody Mary from scratch. And some people use like Clamato or whatever. I like V8, regular V8 as your base, and then you build from there. And I like Vitamix is preferred, but it just have a very robust blender, because you got to blend things. Like you got to blend the celery, blend the bacon. You could also put a stick of bacon in there, but you want to blend the bacon. It adds so much flavor to it. It's outrageous. And then I kept thinking I had like pizza that I would cut up and put onto. I mean, I got very obsessed with it. And then I would be bragging about it, so other people would say, okay, I got to try this Bloody Mary. And then I would see, like, and then by June, when you could actually see people again, I was kind of burnt down on it, but I was like, okay, I'll buy. And so a good friend of mine came over, and I was like, I'm making this for you. And he said straight out, this is the best Bloody Mary I've ever had in my life. And even my dad, who, not the biggest Bloody Mary drinker, but he has this friend who was a legendary drinker, not an alcoholic, but a legendary drinker. And there's a difference. There are people that are professional drinkers that don't necessarily go to the alcoholic route, but they are professional drinkers. Like, they're very good drinkers. And this guy, he always said, my friend so-and-so makes the best Bloody Marys. It's not better than that. But he tasted mine. He goes, this is better. He actually called his friend. He's like, I got to tell you, Tommy, my parents call me Tommy, outdid your Bloody Mary, to the point where I had to make it for him. And I actually had to go to his place late last summer, because he's like one of these guys, he's like an older guy that just doesn't know anything about computers, and his laptop died. So I actually kind of built him a computer like Perry has, like very basic. And I said, so I set it up. But while I was there, I brought some Bloody Mary. And then, I made a whole ceremony out of it, poured the Bloody Mary, and he tasted it. And he was like, this is better than mine. This is better than mine. And that was a badge of honor, because this guy is like in his 70s, and he's been doing this way longer. He was making Bloody Marys before I was even conceived of. And he found it. I said, listen, I was bored. And not only that, I thought the world was going to end. So I really did these Bloody Marys heavily. But the milkshake from Windy City could be called the Bloody Perry. But anyway, so I burnt out on it. Do you ever have something so much that you kind of just ruin it for yourself? So I haven't had a Bloody Mary since then. But my long-winded story about Bloody Marys was getting back to International Subscriber Sunday. Since it'll be a 3 p.m. start time, I might start with a Bloody Mary. I might have one to kick off the stream. I think maybe that'd be a nice way to do it. Maybe we can all have a drink. Not everybody drinks, by the way, but yeah. Where's Alice the cat? Because he knows all about it. He's a huge. He's the guy that I cut my Bloody Mary chops with, because he would just always post these drinks on Facebook, and he's always in his pool because he's in San Diego, and he makes these amazing Bloody Marys, and yeah. I don't drink. To be honest with you, I never liked Appletinis. I just don't. I don't like. It's too sweet for me. I do like a good kettle martini, Kettle One martini, ice cold, extra dirty with olives on the side, and I'll have one of those. I don't think I can do them back to back, but I'm gonna stop. Yeah, Alice the cat in the chat is a legendary bartender, and I'll be seeing him next month when I come in town for Perry. So we'll have some poolside drinks. But yeah, lately I haven't been drinking that much, because I'm doing this 3 days a week, and when I'm not doing this, I'm editing it, and I'm doing so much maintenance. But yeah, I gotta actually remember the recipe. Saying we're patiently awaiting the recipe, I gotta remember the recipe. I actually have to make one and remember, because I'm definitely skipping over things that I put in there. But it's definitely the V1, and it's, I don't know the percentages, like the how many tablespoons of this or that. I just kind of do it by eye, but I'll write it down. I'll make it on next Sunday, and I'll write it down. And see, that just takes care of the Bloody Mary itself. But then you have to do your own garnish, because I hate when you go to a bar or a place and you order a Bloody Mary and they give you literally a Bloody Mary with a stick of celery. That's bullshit to me. I'm big on the garnish. That to me is, I want the Bloody Mary to be a meal, and it's got to be stuff. Perry's not coming back. Perry is knee deep in his post-stream activities right now, I'd imagine. I don't have any tips on deck. I think we caught up completely. I'll run anything that comes in, but Perry's not here. But yeah, so you got to do your own garnish, because it doesn't count if you just make a Bloody Mary, and it's work. You got to plan it out. You got to buy supplies. You got to get, like, I like the cheese cubes, different varieties of cheese, and you can put a cheese stick in there. Those work too. Those big pepperoni sticks, those work. Those are basically, I don't know why anybody would eat those without putting them in a Bloody Mary. It makes no sense. Place in Vancouver that puts full burgers and wings on the side of Bloody Mary. Yeah, there's a place I went. It's probably on my Instagram too. I went to Vegas last year for CES. So 2020 CES. The Consumer Electronics Show, and I went to this bar. I forget what hotel it was in, what casino it was in, but it was the craziest Bloody Mary I ever had. It was like, it had like a burger in it. It had like something. It had buffalo wings and other. It was insane. But like anything else, it's like when I was a kid, I would overdose on cereal. Like I'd beg my mother for Captain Crunch. My mom was one of these moms that she didn't like getting sugary cereal, but every now and then you conjure into it, and I'd get Captain Crunch, and then there's something about Captain Crunch where you burn out on it. Like you can't have it all the time. You get the Captain Crunch, you get it out of your system, you have it for like a month, and then you're done with it for like 3 years. That's at least been my experience. Something like Frosted Flakes you could have every day. Perennial favorite. It's my all-time favorite cereal. But I'm comparing Bloody Mary to Captain Crunch because you just can't have it every day. You eventually burn out on it. So yeah, somebody went to my Instagram. Wow, those Bloody Marys look amazing. They're like meals. And yeah, a good Bloody Mary looks like a meal. A good. If I was able to pull up my Instagram on here, I would. But if you go at Tom Brennan NY, you won't have to scroll back that far, because it was I don't think I've posted that much since then. Lagos, I never heard of that. But anyway, next Sunday, I think I will start with a Bloody Mary, and I don't have a camera to prove it, but I'll take a picture of it or something. And I think that'll be a good. I think that'll be a good kickoff. I don't know what I'll probably follow it up with a beer. I don't like getting too drunk. Like that's one thing about like when you get. I don't know what's the average age, if you guys don't mind. Like type in your age. I don't know what the average age is of the viewers. I'm assuming it's like 30s, 40s, 20s around there. But in my experience, once you get north of 40, you don't necessarily drink to get drunk anymore, if you ever did. And I got to a point where I don't get to, okay, yeah, this is what I thought. So 30s, 40s. Hey, William, you're not old. 40, 47. Okay, I'm 47. So, okay, so yeah, a lot of people my age, and we're all in the same similar wheelhouse here. So I think once you get north of 40, there's a couple of things that happen. It's where you don't drink anymore to get like pulverized, and I did that in my 20s necessarily. It's kind of like life overall, right? Like you spend your 20s not giving a fuck and doing whatever you want. Some people, okay. 30s, you spend your 30s correcting all the damage you did in your 20s, and then you spend your 40s correcting the damage you did in your 30s, but also learning the mistakes of your 30s. At least that's my experience. And now you're in your 40s and you forget, not that you forget, but you recognize what works and what doesn't work for you. And does Chad Black the word bloody? I wasn't aware of that. 40 say so. Hero and I are the same age. Happy early. By the way, Hero, I think Perry's got to call you for a birthday wish. Are you turning 47 on a stream day, Hero? But anyway, my point is, I like drinking. I like the art of drinking. I like going out to a pub. I like going out to a bar, although I haven't done that too much recently. Yeah, Jill, by the way, happy birthday. 50 is nothing. And by the way, 50 is nothing nowadays. It's a nice even number. I like the social aspect of it. I like the I like the aroma of a nice bar. I'm very picky about what kind of bar, and I'm mainly a beer drinker, and I can drink a lot of beer before I get drunk. May 7th, Friday. Okay, done. Perry will call and thank one of his moderators, wish him a happy birthday. I just like, I don't know. I like drinking, and but I don't like getting drunk. I don't like losing my sensibilities. I don't like losing control over myself. So, you quit smoking in your 40s? Yeah, I think that's probably the right time to do it. I've never been a smoker, but they say if you can quit smoking by the time you're late 30s, 40s, you can undo all of the damage smoking did to you. You know, your body will recover from it. Your body will recover. If you smoke past the age of 40, you know, regularly, I'm not talking about like your social smoker that does it every now and then, but if you smoke a lot past 40, you're playing Russian roulette. Like you're really, you know, you're really putting yourself at risk. But if you do it before 40, you can recover. And somebody asked how I feel about weed. I feel nothing about it. I don't smoke weed, never smoked weed. I prefer drinking. And the only weed I use is I have 43. Yeah, that's good. I think Larry you made it under the cut. Yeah, that's early 40s. I think you're good. But I just yeah, I have edibles, and you can't get them, even though they passed a law in New York where it's now legal. It's going to take a while I'm actually trying to see if I can get my own like I'd love to open up a dispensary, like, you know, but they have a waiting list of things you could do. I thought that would be, not a cigar smoker. I mean, I don't not like them, but it's just not something I've done. But how do I feel about habitually masturbating after streams? Yeah, edibles. What I do is I get the indica edibles, and I have a friend in California who every few months sends me and I just get the sleep aid. Like I'm gonna take one right when we're done now, and it puts me to sleep and it keeps me asleep, but it gives me that ridiculous dry mouth. If I wake up in the middle of the night, I feel like I swallowed sand. But yeah, I'd love to open a dispensary. I'll tell you two things. I don't know if John Diaper's in the chat, but two things that my area needs, and I live on Long Island, just a little bit over the border of Queens in New York. And the thing that Long Island does not have, New York in general does not have, is a good donut shop. And my weird my weird side business fantasy is to open up a killer donut shop that also has a weed dispensary on the other side, like donuts and weed, something like that, because we don't have it. The only thing we have is Dunkin' Donuts, which is trash. And I always get jealous when I go out to the West Coast in California. Like, they got a donut shop every other block, and they're all good. Most of them, they're not all good, but most of them are good. And I don't eat donuts really ever, but if I'm in a place that has good donuts, I'll get it. So I always thought New York could use a really good donut place. But that would be the thing, have it open late, and then look, we got both of your needs. One half of the store, donuts. The other half, you can get your pot dispensary. And I'm kind of serious about that. But yeah, bagels. New York's got in spades, but they have no. 2 years clean, and thanks for reading my comment, Tom. Farmingdale, Long Island, born and raised. Now I live 20 minutes from Perry's small world. Wow. Okay. How do you like living out there versus Long Island? I've had a love-hate relationship with Long Island because I grew up in Brooklyn, and my parents, and I have two younger sisters, and my parents had the bright idea when I was 14 to move to Long Island, which I hated at the time because I had a ton of friends in Brooklyn. I loved the school I was in, and I really liked it, and uprooting and going to Long Island. And it's the worst age to move at. My sisters were younger. They adjusted far better than I did. It's just a terrible age to move. And I kind of hated the suburbia of it, and missed Brooklyn. And then I eventually moved into the city when I was older, but now in my later years, I've kind of had a research, like a renaissance with it, where now I kind of see why people, I kind of see people like move here. It's close to the beach, a lot of stuff. It's very, there's pockets of Long Island that can be very city-like, and then if you want to be in the city, it's 30 minutes away. So it's kind of the best of all worlds in a lot of ways, except you're paying an extortionate amount of money to live here, and property tax is high and all that. So I don't want to live, I want to get out of New York actually, but while my parents are still alive, I'm kind of tied here. But I eventually want to go somewhere else. Gentlemen's Club. I like it. I like it. I think, it's kind of unfortunate, but there's a lot of businesses that are available for rent now. A lot of like storefronts, not businesses, but like stores. I see a lot of places, even like local to me, closed. So I wonder. I don't know. It's something I've been thinking about, like opening up a dispensary / donut place. Donut plant in New York City. I've never heard of. See, I've heard of there's is it King Donut? I lived in Inwood for a short time, and that's like way uptown Manhattan. Yeah, I'll get a camera eventually. I'm actually moving soon. I'm moving in June, actually, sometime in June, and I'll have a better setup there where maybe I'll get a camera and I'll stream more or whatever. But for right now, it's this is as good as we're gonna get. Farmingdale and Melville. Farmingdale I like, yeah. There's no way you enjoy it, Michael. I appreciate that comment. Thomas says, Tom, is it wrong that I enjoy this part of the stream more than Perry? I'd have a hard time believing that, but thank you for the compliment. I kind of already do a co-show with Perry, right? I mean, I'm trying to find the right balance with the stream where I let him go as long as he can without any prompting. But, sometimes, like tonight, I sometimes try things where I'm like, let me just see if he can just talk on his own. And, just run through a couple of tips, and he's good at commenting on that. And then, he just sits there and stares. It depends on his mood, I guess. But he just sits there. Because you go back to the streams, December and January or in February, where I'm not really on them at all, but I'm clearly, I'm behind the scenes, I'm giving him prompts and I'm talking in his ear a lot, but they're very different, and I don't know, like I always have this thing, like, is it better or worse, and there's sometimes he just needs to pick me up, so I'll mention like I know the tattoo thing is a great trigger for him. So if I see him like laying back in that chair and he's like putting us to sleep, okay, now's a good time to bring up the tattoo, and then he snaps to, all of a sudden, all of our ills are cured because he jumps out. You watched the first stream, yeah. I have not. I'm wondering how that first stream plays, the first ever stream. It, of course, there's the ending where he trips and spills the chili, which is the best. But also Perry couldn't run this. Like, Perry couldn't run this software. Perry couldn't run the broadcast software. He couldn't like click on like run a tip. He couldn't skip a tip. He couldn't do the transitions or go to his ring. I mean, he couldn't do any of that. He needs a team. It doesn't work. It doesn't work with just him. And it doesn't work without the team. We need the moderators. We need Scott. We need, me. So it comes together, but it's definitely, and obviously you need Perry. Of course you need Perry. He's, technically it's his stream. He's the namesake of it, at least. I know. I think everybody who sends him like chili or soup is hoping for a recreation of that chili incident. And, it's just one of those things. If you send it enough times, it'll eventually happen where he spilled. The lost stream where he spilled the stuff on his keyboard. Yeah, I mean, I just remember doing it live. Does Scott have any good Stern? No, it's not Scott the engineer. He's better than Scott the engineer. Does Scott have any good Stern stories? I think Scott the engineer, if you're a Stern fan, I mean, from what I've heard, because I haven't listened to Stern in a long time, but I think he really got he got a raw deal because he ended up getting fired. And here's another guy that's just, he was a perennial hard worker for Stern for, Jesus, over 30 years. And then basically what happened, not to bore people, but his wife was dying of cancer. And he asked if he could do a GoFundMe to raise money to help pay for her treatment. And he was told by the upper management, well, the woman that basically runs the Stern Show now, that Marcy Turk, basically told her, yeah, you can do that, but don't mention the Stern Show, and you can't promote it on the show, which is useless. He still raised a decent amount of money. And then unfortunately his wife passed away. And he had been demoted off the Stern Show and was working on a different floor. And the only thing Howard did was send him an email saying that him and Beth were sorry to hear about his wife's passing, and that they donated in her memory to some fucking animal charity. I mean, talk about what a miserable human being. To, like, you know, here's a guy that worked for you for years, worked for you for years, dedicated his life to you, and you know, gave you a lot of good material too. I mean, speaking about smoking, I mean, if anybody listened to the Stern Show in the 90s, like Scott was like, you know, they'd make fun of him for smoking. I mean, honestly, the Stern Show making fun of Scott for smoking probably kept me from not smoking and never picking it up. And it's such bullshit the way he treats people, and really all of his employees. And he's just such a piece of garbage. And I grew up worshiping Stern. Grew up worshiping him. I've mentioned that before. And because I grew up in New York, I was early on. But that just really bothered me. Speaking of, somebody brought up Scott. It doesn't matter who you are. It's like when you hear about like a celebrity you like, and they're just a horrible person in real life. I mean, I want to think that people that I admire, like celebrities or entertainers or whatever, at least good people at the core. And when you hear things like that, we're like, oh, this guy is just selfish, you know, and it just puts up this aura of something. It's a longer thing. I could do a whole podcast on my thoughts on Howard Stern, and maybe I'll do that at some point on my other podcast. But I think, yeah, that's why I listen to Perry. I think, you know, it sounds weird to say, Perry is a good guy at his core. He is. He can come off as selfish and ungrateful, but he is. Billy West over Artie any day of the week, twice on Sunday. Billy West era, probably. I think the entire 90s decade is Howard at his best. It's his Sgt. Pepper's. It's the entire decade, 1990 through 1999. Hard Opinions after show on Friday. It'd be tough for me to pull off, and I also did Hard Opinions with somebody else, so I want to do it with him. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of hard. I mean, and Billy West he wasn't in all the time, but he was just so good and so talented. Howard screwed him over too, because Billy wanted more money and asked Howard if he would fight for him, and Howard didn't. You know, Howard always takes the lion's share of the money and the lion's share of the credit, but doesn't pay his guys. But that's, yeah, I'd say the entire decade of the 90s was great. Because I'll tell you what, my favorite era of Stern is actually late 90s. 98, 99 is arguably my favorite. There's just a lot of good things happened then. And my favorite thing ever, not ever, but I did an edit of it, and I think I put it on YouTube years ago, and then my YouTube channel got taken down, so it got lost, but I still have it. And it was when... If you I don't know if you guys remember when Magic Johnson, radio. I've heard Radio Gunk, but I just never got into it. But yeah, they go. I know they go after Stern, but Magic Johnson started doing a late night talk show. It was in the 90s where like everybody thought talk shows were still a viable thing, and it was on Fox. And Magic Johnson got into the talk show arena and hosted a talk show, and I was obsessed with it. The Magic Hour, yes, very good. Joey. And I remember seeing the first promo for it. I think I was watching, like, it was something on Fox in the late night. It was probably the X-Files. I used to watch the X-Files on like Sunday nights. And they started showing promos. It was debuting in June of 98. And it was like, you know, he had Sheila E. as his band lead. Yeah, I've heard of Who Are These Podcasts. Who Are These Podcasts did one on Red Bar. That's how I know of it. So anyway, it was set up for Colossal Disaster. And the day after the premiere episode, Howard went on the air and just decimated the show. Decimated it. Analyzed every bit of it. Like, played clips, would play his monologue. And, you know, to be fair, Magic wasn't the greatest the greatest speaker, the greatest orator. My opinion of Robin. I haven't heard the show in a long time, so I can't speak of modern Robin, but I always thought she gave a good balance to the show. I liked her. Anyway, so they would every day, and I would tape the show every day. I would tape the Neil Leeds is a real person, the person who asked if Neil Leeds' character, a real person. So I would go to school or whatever, and I would put a videotape in the VCR, and it would be hooked up to the radio tuner, and I would, for those of you old enough to remember VHS, I would record in SLP mode, which was like 6 hours. So I'd get the whole show. And then I would dump the, when I got home, I would dump the VHS to cassette, and I would listen to every show. So I started making my own mix of every time he talked about Magic Johnson. Every single time I would edit it perfectly, and I'll have to upload it now that I'm talking about it. I called it the Magic Chronicles, and I have every single mention of the Magic Johnson show on the Stern show ever, up until he actually went on the show. Because this led up to, like, he was talking about it every day, and it became a big deal. And then Howard was invited to go on the Howard Stern show, which was a huge deal at the time. And it was like right at that summer break, like he would go through the end of June and then take a summer break for 2 weeks, and I had everything saved. But then he was going on the show, and I think the show was airing like July 2nd or 3rd, or it was right on the 4th of July. And it was an event. Like, me and my friends and my girlfriend at the time were obsessed with it. It was the ultimate season finale of something, where the Stern show ended. Like, he's like, yep, we're literally at the end of the show, we're getting on a private plane, we're flying to Los Angeles, and we're doing the Magic Johnson show. And you're not going to hear Howard for 2 weeks, so you don't get to hear him talking about it for 2 weeks later. So we had like a party, like, when it was a big event, and I had like 5 people taping this thing, like on via. I am not missing this episode. I want to back up in case the power goes out. I am taping it. I called up friends. You have to tape it. You have to. So I have, you know, the whole thing documented. But we watched that match, and it was like the ultimate party. It was like the Super Bowl, like watching this Magic Hour, and Howard goes on, and the show opens up, and he just completely. This is back when Howard was still great, not the Howard of today. Today he would be like, you know what, Magic Johnson's trying his best, and you know, shame on you for making fun of Magic Johnson. He's a hero, and you know, he's been through a lot, and you know, he's a very dear friend. That's the Howard of 2021, how he would say it. But the Howard of 1998, different animal. And the show opens up, and he just has this band he put together of farters. Like, he had this one guy, like Will the Farter, and it was like the Losers, his band, the Losers. It was like Jackie, Fred, and they played Wipeout, and the hit on that is like they'd fart into the microphone. Anyway, it was great. But then you had to wait 2 weeks for him to come back and talk about it, which I was dying for. I was like, the show, when that show came out, that when he was back from vacation in the summer of '98, I was there from like the second it was on. And I am not an early morning person by any means, but I was there at 6 a.m. and I was glued to the radio, just listening to I wanted all the behind the scenes stories. So anyway, I made this thing called the Magic Chronicles. At the time it was like on cassettes, and then I converted it to MP3, because there was this like Stern torrent site that I was on, and I uploaded it there. Somebody might have already put it on YouTube. I just joined the stream. Were you an O&A fan? No, I wasn't an O&A fan because I was a Stern fan, and I felt like you couldn't listen to both, even though O&A were in the afternoon. I always felt like, I bought into all that Stern bullshit where, you know, he's the only guy to listen to, and he treated O&A very oddly because Howard like always went after his rivals, like whatever rival in a market came up. But I felt he was genuinely threatened by them, and he never brought them up, except in like, weird times. And then I would listen to O&A, and I didn't like it. And then I think I've said this before. Like years later, I realized it was Opie I didn't like. I liked Anthony, and I liked Jim Norton, and I've actually gone back and listened to like clips on YouTube. And I think it's really funny. Like certain things are very funny, very, very good. So I don't have anything bad to say about them. But at the time I was, and also I thought like Opie was unreasonably vicious about Stern, where Cumia would at least acknowledge that he was, and even today, Cumia will talk about Stern in reverence. I mean, he'll talk about how shit he is now, like I will. But, but again, back especially if you grew up in like a Stern area, like Washington D.C., Philadelphia, New York, you worshipped at Stern's temple, and if he promoted a product, you bought it. If he was doing a plug for something, if he was promoting Snapple iced tea, you were drinking Snapple iced tea. So, but I get that people like Opie and Anthony too. But yeah, so anyway, so that Magic Chronicles thing, I have every instance of him talk about it, and then I have the actual Magic appearance, audio only, and then I have all of the wrap up, and then the problem was, Magic Johnson got canceled pretty quickly after the Magic Hour got canceled pretty quickly after Stern's appearance, even though that was a rating spike, of course. And it got canceled, and they didn't really talk about it as much, except there was one time where the guy who was Magic's co-host was brought into the Stern Show, and it was like in September after the show. What was his name? It wasn't Craig Shoemaker, I think his name was. And he came on the show, and for whatever fucking reason, that show didn't record for me. Like the power went out or something like that. I heard a little bit of it live, but I've always been searching for that. It's really hard to find that era of Stern online, because like some people have like a lot of the 90s archive, but like that period is like very sporadic, and I've always wanted to find that episode because I figured that would be the great ending for that Magic Chronicles, is him talking about it. That's the one thing I don't have. He had Magic Johnson on a year later, maybe 2 years later, but they didn't talk about the Magic Hour at all, which was very disappointing. And that was when Gilbert was in the studio too, and was doing really bad impersonations of Magic. But they didn't talk about the Magic Hour. Somebody asked what I think about Stuttering John. I liked Stuttering John on the Stern Show, and I've gone on record as saying the Stern Show has gone downhill, went downhill when Stuttering John left, not when Artie left, when Stuttering John left, and that's before he even went to Sirius. There was a noticeable decline. Because the thing that Stuttering John did, I mean, his interviews were great in the 90s, like Stuttering John going out to ask celebrities embarrassing questions. Those are all on YouTube, and they're great. But the thing that I liked about it is he was a shit stirrer on the staff. Like, if they went to a party, if John went to a party and at Gary's place, he would come in Monday morning and rat out Gary on I saw Gary was, his wife was drinking all night, and Gary was the one that had to change diapers, and he was giving his son a bath, and they'd all goof on it, and then Gary would come in red-faced, and he would just be like, the shit stirrer. And that role was never replaced on the show. They never had that. It was just like, they had other employees, but they didn't have anybody to fill that void. Now, look, I've listened to his podcast. His podcast is unlistenable. It's horrible. And he has a very high opinion of himself. I even listened to his audiobook because I was interested in the Stern stuff, and it's not that good. Yeah, Jason. Yeah, it's a good point, Gary. Jason tried, but Jason wasn't as smart. Jason was kind of more like a weasel. He wasn't that. He didn't play the same role. And the thing I'll say about Artie is not that Artie was the greatest thing ever, but Artie was the last gasp of the everyman on the show. He was the last voice of the everyman, the guy that goes to work, the guy that works a construction job, the guy that's driving to a job he hates and was listening to the show. Because Howard was so far out of touch by that time. It was like Howard is orbiting a different solar system by then. He has no connection with his audience, and and then once Artie was off the show, that was lost, and then he's doing America's Got Talent and everything like that, and so that was the end. And yeah, like Hero says, I say this too. Eric the Midget was the last reason to listen to Stern. When Eric the Midget or Eric the actor passed away, and that was it. That was it, and now it's just all gone downhill. But yeah, that was. Dark Side Yoshi writes, TomB, I saw Don reply to one of your posts on Reddit the other day when you said Perry wouldn't get by Don and Mole, and Don said that's not true. Can you? I never said that. I have no idea. I don't think that Don doesn't go on Reddit either. That's somebody else. Don doesn't go on Reddit. I have no idea, and I haven't written on Reddit recently. But yeah, I have this whole timeline in my head of like the downside of like I almost have it written down. Before we get into this, I was gonna do a YouTube documentary on the decline of Stern, where I wanted to like show his hypocrisy, because I have all these clips from that. Like there was a period of time, maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, where I was listening to old shows, and I would listen to little clips, and like he would say things like Robin would do a story in the news about a celebrity eating at Nobu, and he'd be, I'll never eat at Nobu. That's this guy. If I ever become a guy that eats at Nobu, shoot me. And then of course he became a guy that ate at Nobu. He would talk about a dog. I wouldn't never want a dog. He's like, there was a story about like some cat thing, and he was like, oh please, just throw it in the garbage. Just throw the cat in the garbage. Of course he's exaggerating, but think about him now, Mr. like cat adoption guy. And so I wanted to like put all these little hypocrisy things. It was just too much work, because I think if you're going to talk about the downfall of somebody, if you're going to talk about like how somebody has fallen from grace, you first have to talk about how great they were. And that's what I don't like about when they do these takedown videos. Yeah, have you ever seen interviews where Stern claims he never said the N-word? Bullshit. Like it was he never said it in like a vicious way, but obviously nowadays there's no nice way of saying that. But I mean, look, listen to any episode of like Black Jeopardy or something like that. When's the last time you heard from Daniel Carver on the Stern Show? But anyway, like my point is, when you do a takedown documentary, takedown video, like don't just go into it where you're just gonna like dissect this person and say why they're bad. The reason that they're on their radar is they were once great, whether it's a musician or an actor. So you got to talk about what makes the person great before you talk about the downfall. And I would spend probably more time talking about how great he was. What are my thoughts on Adam Carolla and Loveline? I never really listened to Loveline. It was just not my thing. And I don't like Adam's voice. It's grating to me. But I don't dislike Adam, but I can't listen to him because he's got that voice. It doesn't. I'm kind of a voice guy. It's like even with like women, like if you have a bad voice, I'm out. Like I can't take the voice. Like it's gotta be pleasant to listen to. So. But anyway, so I abandoned that idea for now anyway. But I had all plans for it. I like wrote out bullet points of the timeline of Stern and when the show was great, when the show dipped. And we can't all have voices like Perry. Yeah, and Ron and Fez is another one. I never listened to Ron and Fez. I don't know anything about them. I know Ron from being on the Cameo show a couple of times, when I was listening to that, but not now. I can listen to Norm forever too. I love Norm Macdonald. But yeah. So anyway, it's a longer discussion. I don't think Perry has any opinion on girl voices. I think he just needs to, I think he's more visual. And I hate Ron. I never liked Ronnie, even when, he was a peripheral character. He'd literally just be the limo driver. And he would occasionally call in or show up when there was a big event. But him being on the air daily, give me a break. It was terrible. I don't know. What do I think about when do you think we'll figure out the cat thing? I don't know. We might really have to get in touch with Linda Johnson and find out, because she knows. That's the only way we're going to get a straight answer, because we're not getting it out of Perry. He, again, I say it, he's not a reliable narrator. Something like Beige Frequency does, kind of, but more involved than that, and it would just take too long to do it. But yeah, kind of like with Beige Frequency, I think does more of the takedown part, not the build up part. And I think for something like this, you got to spend, if you're going to talk about why somebody is no good anymore, you got to talk to them about why they were great, and it's got to have that balance. I don't know, maybe I have her phone number. I could possibly do it. I don't want to necessarily call her on the stream, but I love Beetlejuice when he first came around. Like, Beetlejuice first came out on the show in the summer of 1999. I listened to it live. I remember it very well. I remember where I was when I heard him, and I knew he was going to be great, and he was great. Early 2000s, right up until the early years of Sirius, when his manager Sean died. I think that's when Beetlejuice lost a step, where he just wasn't the same guy. And I don't even know if he's on the show anymore, but I just remember in my waning years of listening to the Stern Show, and I stopped listening in May of 2015, right around this time of year, like, so 6 years ago I stopped listening. I don't know if he's still on, but he just wasn't the same, because he was living with his family in Georgia, and I think he was more in like regular life mode rather than being a crazy guy mode, and he just wasn't. Yeah. By the way, I was talking to somebody else about this. High Pitch Eric and the raw fish thing is one of my favorite things ever. If you look that up on YouTube, the original time where he was just like, I hate raw fish, and he was being chased around by the fish. It made me think of Perry when Perry freaked out over the fish. It made me think of So my favorite Whack Packers: Eric, the actor, Beetlejuice, Hank the Angry Dwarf. And I'll give High Pitch Eric some credit, even though he's not always great, but I do. Are there any topics you part with Mike Redbar on? Maybe. Like, sometimes he gives an opinion on something that I don't necessarily agree with. I can't think of anything offhand. He's a little more apolitical than I am, even though I'm more apolitical now. But I can't, he has some, he does, it's like food opinions or something like that. Like, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I occasionally do hear something, I'm like, I flat out disagree with that. Who else am I thinking? Elephant Boy in small parts. Yucko the Clown, not so much, because he was a character, he wasn't a real guy. Gotta tip in.
Perry $50 to call Linda Johnson about cat story but talking to the shop vac turned on the whole time. #tips for tomb. Fuck you, Perry.
We'll see about that. I'll play that first thing on Tuesday, because that'll stay in the queue until Tuesday. So I'll play that Faster Blade for him at the start. We'll see. Bigfoot, I wasn't a big fan. And plus, there was another Bigfoot. There was another guy who was Bigfoot. Bigfoot, he came along too late for me. It just wasn't. I mean, I don't know if you consider Daniel Carver part of the Whack Pack. Elliot Offen, love it. I still have a good friend of mine, and we text back and forth, and we still quote Elliot Offen. And my favorite era of Elliot is when he first came in, he was just like the crazy guy that wore lingerie. And then there was this whole phase where, like, and I have a whole, maybe I'll upload this too. I have a whole Elliot Offen collection of like maybe every appearance he was ever on. I remember running through it the first time. Anyway, there was a period of time where he started talking about his like past, where he was like a con artist, and there was an FBI guy that called in and had all this dirt on him. And then Elliot would like change because he wasn't the innocent guy anymore, and he was like, and he came in, there was one show where he came in and he was going to give all the details of his past. And he talked like a tough guy, and I love the tough guy Elliot. That was probably the last phase of him, where he was like, he's like, I'm a gangster. I was a gangster. He's like, this is underworld talk. I'm going to tell you about how I scam people, right? I scam people. I bamboozle people, Stern, right? You're going to listen? And he was like that tough guy. Oh my God. And then they just didn't have him on the show anymore because he like punched a hole in the wall, which is bullshit because he was so fucking interesting. I saw him once in Manhattan running, and I wanted to almost catch up with him, and like get a photo with him or something. But he was like legitimately running fast, and it was like in the winter too, and he was in lingerie. He was running down, Jesus, what was it, 8th Avenue, in like the Hell's Kitchen area, kind of. I just like I was coming out of a restaurant with a friend of mine, and I literally saw the guy like running in the street, and I was like, holy shit, that's Elliot Offen, elegant Elliot Offen. But yeah, so he stopped coming on the show like early in the Sirius era, like 2006. It was a bummer. Crazy Cabbie, yeah, not really. I mean, didn't do anything for me. I wasn't that big on Crazy Cabbie. I mean, I don't remember Crazy Cabbie as much. I remember him being annoying, but I don't remember what... He had a show on K-Rock, which was Howard's New York station, and he would come in sometimes. I never got the fascination with him. And Melrose is just... He just sucks. He's just... Because he's such a kiss-ass. I don't like Sal. I don't like Richard. I don't like any of the quote-unquote new guys. And I count a new guy, like, even to me, like, Jason and Will are new guys. I don't like any of Howard's new guys. I hate JD with a passion. Can't stand him. I hate any of the new people. I liked it when it was a skeleton crew. I liked it when Gary was the producer. And I'll accept up until Casey and Benji. I'll grandfather in. Like, they came in like the late 90s. I'll grandfather those guys in. Any employee that came on after that point in the 2000s, I can't think of anybody that came on. Tom, I know it's not your job, but I'd be interested in a Stern primer. He was on E when I was a kid, but wasn't broadcast when I grew up. Yeah, and I think that's true. Like, if you grew up in Chicago, like, you didn't get Stern. But if you grew up in an area where he was in, it was your life. I mean, I lived and breathed the show. Every day was about listening to the show. Every day was about listening to the Howard Stern show. There was no way I was going to miss it. Richard Christie is not hilarious. You really believe Richard Christie? I think Richard Christie is so hack. But then again, I haven't heard the show in 6 years. Maybe he's funny now. I don't know. I was jealous of New England, Joey. You say because when the Stern show, I remember when the Stern show syndicated to the Boston area for the first time. I think it was in '94. They ran the show at night. The Stern show was, I think it was on in the morning. They would rerun it at night, and I remember being so jealous of that. I was like, wow, that's great that you can get the Stern show. Do you think the Tradio calls are real? I felt like, see, that's the thing with Sal and Richard, is they get one bit that works and then they run it into the ground. And the Tradio was fun for like the first cycle of calls. And it was fun. It was funny. Like, I genuinely laughed at those. And then they just do it to death. And the thing about Sal and Richard, at least at the time, and I don't know if that's evolved since then, but all their calls have to be done together. Like, they have to like get equal time on the calls. So they never let one person shine. They always have to, like, here, talk to my grandson. And then like Sal gets on. It's like, okay. And then, it's all about them. Like, and a good crank call should be about the victim, and their calls are all about them and them showcasing themselves. And I never liked that, It's just, and by the way, that pizza, what's their first crank call where it was like, I forget the punchline of it, when they call the pizzeria or something like that, or they call the restaurant. Somebody help me out. It's like their famous call that got them big. I think that's totally faked. It just doesn't sound real to me. I think it's staged. Oh, my something is dirty, and the guy repeats it. Does that ring a bell to anybody? Yeah, I like Jim Florentine's prank calls. Those were good. And I liked Touchtone's Terrorist in the early 2000s too. That was great too when they played the oh God, what was it? They my turban is dirty. That was it. Thank you. My turban is dirty is the punchline. My turban is dirty. I mean, it sounded fake to me. The UPS calls to the Touchstone Terrace were great because they would get the guy who did it. It wasn't it was one guy, and he'd get a number. He'd get an 800 number that was like one digit off from UPS. So anybody calling UPS complaining about a package, like they would get this guy's number, and then he'd record the calls, and they were great, and they were. Oh, I got a text from Perry. Amy Liberante and the entire family better get blocked for life or the stream is over. They go to jail. Okay, well, you heard it here first. He didn't call. But, yeah, I don't know. So, like, and I was a big fan. I think I mentioned before that the TomB tapes are my favorite calls ever. The TomB Jersey City to the red calls. That's my favorite thing ever. As far as comedy goes, nothing has ever made me laugh as hard or for as long, because I first heard those calls in like the late 80s, and they still make me laugh. And early Jerky Boys too, very early Jerky Boys. But there's nothing that beats TomB. That's just that's the Citizen Kane of phony phone calls. It's just it's what came first, you know. And I always hate when like Johnny Brennan, who I'm not related to, TomB over Stern. I'll say it. It makes me, because I still like TomB now. I can't say that about Stern. And it's actually hard for me to listen to old Stern, knowing what he became. I could still listen to Red. I could still recite those calls, and I still have a circle of friends where all we do is just do Red stuff. Like if we're in a gathering place, one of us will page like one of their names, you know, like one of the names mentioned on the thing. But the early Jerky Boys, and I never, like Johnny Brennan, I mean, and I've talked to him, and and he's always asked questions about, was the TomB an inspiration to you? And he always says he never heard the TomB at the time he was doing Jerky Boys, which I just find impossible. How you were not influenced by? I mean, it's okay to be influenced by something without being derivative of it. So I do think Jerky Boys was inspired by the TomB tapes. How could it not be? So I just don't think he's on. I just don't think he's honest about that. Yeah, Perry is like Red. I'm gonna go to bed soon. Yeah, I gotta go to bed soon. I gotta wind down. I usually take a little wind down time after the stream. I can't jump off this and go right to bed. Can't happen. Can't do it. So if I'm not doing this, I'm playing like the Switch or something like that, or watching YouTube videos. So this will be my wind down, and then we'll wrap up. I got my eye on the time though. Don't worry, and thanks for looking out for me. Yeah, because I got to go to a funeral home tomorrow morning. So, and I got to identify the body of a woman that I've never met, which is also is going to be tricky. I have a picture, but yeah, it's just not something I want to do. What do I play on the Switch? Well, I've always been. I'm not necessarily. I wouldn't call myself a hardcore gamer, but I've always been a Nintendo fan, and I've always owned a Nintendo console ever since the NES. I've owned every single one. I owned a Super Nintendo. I owned a Nintendo 64. I owned a GameCube. I owned a Wii, and I own the Wii U. And I obviously own a Switch. So I'm pretty basic when it comes to Switch. I mean, I'm a Mario fan. Any Mario Bros. So the one that I'm into right now is Super Mario 3D World, which I didn't play when it originally came out. I didn't have the Wii U at the time it came out, so I'm playing it for the first time now, which is great. I love it. It's a great time waster. The levels are short and sweet, but they're challenging. It's just enough for my attention span. I can't get into some big shooter thing. I remember getting Doom Eternal last year for the PS4, and I never got far in it because it was just so overwhelming. Yeah, I'd have a really hard time ranking my favorite Mario games. I really would. I love Mario Galaxy. I mean, when it came out, I just remember what I was doing, and there's a weird like memory thing that comes with games where I was replaying Mario Galaxy when they came out with. Now I haven't played Red Dead Redemption, even though I bought it. I just never played it. I will. It's one of those big games. I was like, okay, one of these days I'll get to that game. But I was playing Mario Galaxy back in like October or something like that when they came out with Nintendo released the 3D All Stars, and I was playing this specific level, and I had this flashback of when I played it originally back in like whenever it came out in like 2007. And it was this weird thing, and I was like, I remember being at my old apartment. I remember exactly. It just took me back to that period. And games have a way of doing that like no other form of entertainment. Because you could see like catch a TV show that you saw for the first time in years, and you can kind of remember. But there's something about video games that when you pick them up after a long time, like why do I know how to beat everybody in Mike Tyson's Punch Out? Why do I know all the codes? Why do I know all the combinations when I haven't played the game in 30 years? But I can pick it up today, and I know how to beat Piston Honda, the first and second versions. I just know. It's just this muscle memory. But anyway, yeah, so I've been playing Super Mario World, Super Mario 3D World, Zelda. I got the one. No, I didn't get a I think the PS5 is so fucking ugly. Is so ugly. First of all, I hate white electronics. I thought the white electronic era was over, and I hate the way it looks. It's weird. PlayStation, if we want to talk games for a second, PlayStation was outclassing the Xbox in every category for the past, I don't know, almost decade. And now it's going around the other way. Xbox is picking up momentum because the people running Sony are really blowing it, like on multiple levels. And Breath of the Wild, I bought and I haven't played. I am saving it for a time where I have things to do. Nothing to do, and I can really enjoy it. I'm really looking forward to the day I can play Breath of the Wild, but I did buy it. And the other Zelda that I play is the one that came out last year. It was a remake of that Game Boy game. I can't think of the name of it. It's kind of like an old school Zelda game, and I've played a lot of that, but I haven't finished it. I can't think of the name of it. Zelda, somebody will know it. But I'm waiting for Link's Awakening. Yeah, Link's Awakening. It's kind of like Link to the Past, and that's what I love. Link to the Past is my favorite Zelda game, so I really like that. But anyway, the PlayStation 5 is so hideous. It's ugly. So I'm waiting for them to come out with a, and you can't get it now anyway. But I played Zelda Wind Waker, and I liked Wind Waker. I like that one. But you're a game developer and Xbox treated you like shit and Sony treated you well. That's interesting. That's interesting to hear that side of it. I just think that Xbox embraces playing old games, and with their pass system, and that Sony has embraced that. And somebody mentioned Pac-Man. So there's a new game on the Switch that called Pac-Man 99, and I've been addicted to that. That's pretty much what I'm playing constantly, is Pac-Man 99, where it's free and it matches you with 99 other players, and you're playing the same level at the same time, and you can like throw things at people, and it is a thing. Yeah, it's great. My favorite Nintendo game system, I have to probably give it to the Super Nintendo, would be my favorite for nostalgic reasons, but also I think it has the most amount of quality games. And I'm just not a PC gamer. I have a rig. This PC could run, believe me, any game I throw at it. But I just look at being in front of the computer. To me is like being at work. Like I'm working when I'm in front of the computer. When I want to chill out and play a game, I want to be on my couch with a comfortable controller. I am not a keyboard gamer. I can't work my head around using a keyboard. But yeah, I had the Atari 2600. I'm that old. I had the Atari 2600. But credit to Nintendo for revitalizing the video game industry, because they always say that the E.T. game like killed the industry, which I guess is true. But what really killed the video game industry was too much bait and switch from Atari, and too many shit games. And kids get sick of it. And I was the target audience, and me and my friends, we would always, again, there's no YouTube then, there's no anything. You never really see what these games look like. And I remember, and again, I'm too young to buy my own games, so you're at the mercy of a parent or a relative who could buy you games. And I'd be in the mall with my mom, and I'd be good, whatever, and we'd go to KB Toys, and then they had the Atari games behind the counter, and the fucking cover art on these games looked great. Download Steam, okay, I'll download Steam, Connor. That's a nice, generous offer. I I'll download Steam. And they'd have these covers that looked amazing. Like they looked great, like River Raid or something like that, or like whatever, like Spy Hunter or some game. I'm like, oh my god, look at that cover. How could it not be bad? You look at the back. They have a couple of screenshots, and then you get home and you take the cover off. You put in the game, and it's a piece of shit. It's like 2 blocks that you have to use your imagination. You have to use your imagination for these Atari games, and they were shit. And eventually, you play because there was nothing else like it. And you trade games with your friends and everything like that. And I had a pretty good Atari collection. I still do. I still have those cartridges somewhere. But eventually, I can only speak for myself. I just got burnt on Atari so many times where I get a game that I think is going to be good. And E.T. is the poster child for that kind of game. But they were all like that. They were all shit. There was a lot of shit Atari games. And the proof of that is there's no real nostalgia for... favorite 2600 games, very easy. It's Pitfall 2. I liked Pitfall. Somebody else just mentioned Pitfall. I like Pitfall 1. Pitfall 2 was an amazing game for the 2600, and it's amazing looking back now that the 2600 was actually able to play that game because it had a beginning and an end, and it had checkpoints, which was unheard of at the time. Checkpoints. Like, you get to a certain point in the game, and it had checkpoints. Like, you die, it brings you back to that point. And it's the first game, and it's also a game that has an ending. A lot of those Atari games, they didn't have any ending. It was all about high scores. There was never any ending. And I love the sound. I love the soundtrack to Pitfall 2. I remember I could still do that. I still hear that music in my head because I played it. And then the music that you get where you get a balloon, a hot air balloon, and it's like do 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 do. But and I beat it. And I remember feeling a sense of accomplishment when I beat it. And that was great. But all the other games were such garbage. And then Nintendo came out, the Nintendo Entertainment System. There were other Atari. There was like a 5200 Atari that like a friend had. And it looked a little better. Because really, I was an arcade fan. And I was all about getting a quality arcade port. But there was no such thing as a quality arcade where they just looked like Pac-Man was garbage. That was another thing. Pac-Man on the Nintendo was shit. And I remember being really disappointed with that. And then the Nintendo came out, and it was just life-changing. It brought me right back. I was like, Super Mario Brothers changed everything. Fucking everything. I got the Nintendo Entertainment System in Christmas 1986, and that was... And it was great. I actually had this thing where, speaking of moving to Long Island, we had moved to Long Island, and my parents and we were going out to see my sister's Christmas recital. This was like 2 weeks before Christmas. My 2 sisters, I had the house to myself, and I was old enough where I could be in the house by myself. I was born in 1974, Joseph. So I had the house to myself, and there were easy. I knew it was a new house because we had just moved there that summer, and I knew I was getting the Nintendo, and I knew it was somewhere. And I went into the garage first, and one of the first places I looked, I fucking found it. I found the Nintendo that was going to be from Santa Claus or whatever. I think I knew that there was no Santa Claus at that point, but yeah, I definitely did. But I took it out, and I was like, oh my God. And I was trying to plot out how much time I had before my parents came back with my sisters. And I figured I have about 2 hours to play with. And I took it, it was wrapped, and I carefully undid the wrapping. I slid the Nintendo, and I was like, I was just in awe. I was just like, oh my God, here it is. So I did this careful unboxing, and I was shaking. I was like, that's how bad I wanted this thing. And I hooked it up to the TV in our basement, and I played Super Mario Brothers for the first time all by myself. And I knew I was doing a bad thing. I was doing a bad thing by opening this present early. And if my parents came home, I mean, oh my God, I would have not gotten it. She would have returned it. I would have not gotten it for Christmas. So it was a risky move. And it was the thing where I could see, but I had a backup plan because the basement where we were, like, the TV faced the other side of the wall, and then there was a window in the basement, and if the basement had the lights off, the lights from the taillight of the car would illuminate the basement window, and I would know, like, okay, now all I have to do is just hide the Nintendo in the basement. If they come home, I don't have to go all the way out to the garage to put it back, because they're not going to look. They're not going to be like, oh, he was looking for presents. All I have to do is, like, we had a bar in the basement. I just have to hide it behind the bar, put a blanket over it until the next day, and then wait for an opportunity to, stack it back up there. Yeah, Tom was playing Mario like it was much more. Yeah, so anyway, it was the first time I ever played Mario Brothers, and it was just it was life changing. It was life changing. It was and so really, in all honesty, when somebody says what's my favorite Mario game, I almost have to say the first game, even though it's not. It's probably Super Mario World if I have to answer what my favorite game is. But that first game, it was just great. And now there were other games too. Castlevania was there too. I couldn't open it because it was a sealed cartridge, and that would show my hand, so I couldn't play that. The only thing I played was Mario Brothers because it came with the system and it wasn't sealed in the box. I don't always speak when Perry quits. No, it's sporadic. But anyway, so I played it for maybe an hour and a half, maybe for 2 hours, and I loved it. And then I had the self-discipline to pack it up. I packed it up, I put it back in the packaging exactly how it was. I put the box, I sealed the box, and the box, like, when you put something, no, I've not played Mario Lost World. I've only really played a home console Mario game, so if there's any kind of like Nintendo DS thing, I've probably not played it. But so when you rebox something and there's always like a problem, like the box bubbles, like it was wider when I put it back than it was, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? Like I couldn't get it back in the wrapping without cracking the wrapping. This had to be put back exactly the way it was from the manufacturer, and I wasn't getting it right. I was like, oh my god. So I had cut the seal of the outer box with a razor. And then I sealed it back, and I was going to seal it back up with double-sided tape so you couldn't see the break in the seal. I mean, they wouldn't know. I would do a big acting job on Christmas morning. I've since told my parents this story, and they not that long ago, actually, at like Christmas Eve dinner, we were all kind of like, all right, let me be honest about something. And my mom shot me a stare of death. Like, she was so, my dad laughed, my sisters laughed. She did not appreciate this story too much, even now. But then I finally got it right. I finally got it, and I resealed it perfectly. I put like double-sided tape on it. So I mean, you would never know. You could put it was a perfect resealing job. Then I carefully put it back in. I went out to the garage. I had a step ladder because it was over the thing, and I slid it back. And then I closed the garage, went back inside, and like you could set your watch to it. I believe they came home about 5 minutes after that. And it was like nothing ever happened, and it was just my little secret, and that was my favorite time ever. I played Burger Time on NES, but it's a shitty port. I like the arcade version of Burger. The only good version is the arcade version. And that's why I started hating ports, because I even like the game Gauntlet in the arcade. I really liked the Gauntlet game because I like the sound effects. I like the game. And then it came out for Nintendo, and it stunk. I think there was 2 different companies that put that out, and it stunk. So I stayed away for even Double Dragon was a big deal. So bad Gauntlet on the NES, and great arcade, terrible port. Same with Double Dragon. I hated the Double Dragon port, and because I had an arcade fairly close to me, and I knew the arcade games intimately, and then the whole con of advertising of these games, like, oh, now you can play it at home. It was always the thing, and it was just like, favorite arcade game, I'd have to give it to Galaga. Because that's probably my favorite. That's probably my favorite game. My friend's dad thought he'd killed a cat with Rotokiller. Turns out she buried a dead cat in her backyard, and the dad took a Rotokiller out, and there was, oh God, cat broke on the cat's bones and cried. Ooh. Yeah, occasionally I'll go to like a barcade, not now, and it's fun. I really like Tapper, if anybody's played Tapper, because it's like an adult game that you can Clutch Canuck just said Tapper. You can put a beer, it has like a place for your beer, and you can it's hard. I can't get very far in it. Centerpiece. Oh, so here's something fun. I'll probably end on this, because I'm gonna go to 6 hours exactly. So there's on Long Island here, there's a museum called the Museum the Aviation. It's like where Charles Lindbergh first flew off. It's like the Aviation Museum. I'm not getting the name right. Anyway, it's like about space and airplanes, and they have this currently. They have this video game expo on the second floor that they're running through the end of the summer, and you pay like $6 and you can play all these games. And I went a couple weeks ago, and they have games I've never heard of. They actually have like the history of games. It's like the history of games. And if anybody is in New York or anywhere near, it's like in Garden City, Long Island, it's worth going to. So they had a couple of games in there. They had the original Pong arcade game. They had the original Asteroids arcade game, which I've never seen and never played, even though like, I know that's history. So they have a game called, what's the name of it now? I just had it in my brain. I gotta look it up. They had this one game I was obsessed with that I had never heard of, and I consider myself fairly. It's called Nibbler. No, they don't have Polybius. I looked. It's called Nibbler, and Nibbler is this game where all it is you're a snake, right? And it's like Pac-Man. It's like a Pac-Man type thing, and the joystick is very it's kind of unique. It's kind of a stiff feeling to it. So all you do as Nibbler is you're this snake, and you go around the board, and you eat, and you just got a snake around the board. You eat like pellets or something, but if you eat as you eat pellets, the snake grows larger. You can look it up on YouTube, and you got to navigate around this maze without eating your own tail. If you eat your own tail, you die, and you just got to clear all these boards. And it was addictive, and I was shocked that I never heard of it. It was just one of these small games. So there's a documentary about it on YouTube. It's something about Nibbler, and it was this guy in the 1980s that got an insane score, and his scoring on the game is crazy because it's like you can get into the millions, and the guy scored 1 million something, and it took him 2 days straight on one life of playing Nibbler. And do you play it on a home console, Nibbler, the TI-83? Because that's the one thing about Nibbler, there was never any ports for it. But yeah, so look up Nibbler. It was really yeah. So I watched the documentary after I saw it. It was funny, like Billy Mitchell's in it, and he's so the guy from King of Kong, and Billy Mitchell is so arrogant that he actually gives a great line at the beginning of the documentary. He's like, well, some people, of course I've seen King of Kong. He's like, some people like to climb Mount Everest, which is Donkey Kong, and beat the get the highest score in the hardest game ever. And some people just want to climb a little mountain that's not very insignificant, which is Nibbler. And then it like leads into this guy, But he's such a great heel, though, Billy Mitchell. He's like you can't hate him because he's such a great heel. He's like Eric Bischoff. You can't hate him because he's so entertaining. So I like Billy Mitchell. And I watch a lot of YouTube about Billy Mitchell and stuff. There's a much longer cut of King of Kong. There's like a 3.5 hour version of King of Kong that I've heard people talk about that goes much deeper into a lot of stuff. I'd love to for that to come out. See, people say Billy Mitchell's a cheater, but is he? Because, like, I understand that one tape he submitted was questionable. Like he achieved that on MAME, but since then, he has he's achieved scores legitimately. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, he and then he denied using it. And, there's clearly things there, but he's extremely litigious. Because there was a guy on, and I'll get really deep in it. There was a guy on YouTube. He had a channel. His name was Apollo Legend on YouTube, and he went after Billy really hard. Like, hey, Billy, sue me, And Billy sued him and won. And the guy actually, this guy Apollo Legend, he was a YouTuber, and he specialized in making speedrun videos of exposing cheat. It's a very niche category. Yeah, spoiler alert, John. I was going to get to that. But he would do these speedrunners and break down how people cheated at speedrunning. And but he went way too far with Billy Mitchell, I think, because I watched all his videos on Billy Mitchell and I was like, how the fuck isn't Billy Mitchell suing this guy? And he sued him. And then this past January, Apollo Legend killed himself, like the guy, the YouTuber. Like he did a last. If you look up Apollo Legend last video, other people have posted it on YouTube with like a warning. You don't see the suicide on a thing, but he's clearly a very mentally disturbed kid or guy, young guy. And he said, this is my last video ever. After I turn this camera off, I'm going to kill myself. And he was a YouTuber that I followed. But yeah, he had there's a whole deeper thing in here. This is a real, this is where we're going to lose everybody because it's very segmented. But I don't know if that was the same guy, Joey, that tried to get the Missile Commander score legitimized. But he had this like GoFundMe for his legal defense against Billy Mitchell. And he raised a ton of money. He raised like $60,000. And then he settled with Billy or something like that, or for whatever reason happened. He was supposed to give the money back, and he never gave the money back that he raised. And then he kind of just disappeared. And Twin Galaxies, I think the guy Walter Day, who was the referee guy, the guy that ran, he's the guy that's in King of Kong. He got booted. He got booted from Twin Galaxies because he was like in bed with Billy Mitchell. Like he would just go in and take Billy's word for it and change the score and like enter it in. So he's not involved with that, and that's the stuff I'd like to see. The stuff that wasn't covered in King of Kong. Like there's a bigger story there, especially with Billy Mitchell. So I'd like to see a sequel or something. And then Billy didn't Billy sue the Guinness Book of Records because they took him out? Like didn't they like take him out of the Guinness Book of Records and then he sued them, and did he success? I forget if he successfully won that lawsuit or not. But he also sued Twin Galaxies. I mean, the guy like say what you will about him, but he will not stand for slander. I mean, if you're a broadcaster of any kind and you're talking about Billy Mitchell, you better watch your P's and Q's because he'll come after you. And I gotta say I respect him for that. I really do. I respect say what you want about him, but I respect him. And he is legitimately good at Donkey Kong. I mean, if you've ever played Donkey Kong, I don't make it past. I mean, there's like the third level. Billy Mitchell and Perry. I wonder. Billy Mitchell would really look. I don't think he would be interested in anything Perry does. Yeah, Perry's very bad at lawsuits, as we all know. But yeah, I don't know. Like, does he? So what does Billy do on Twitch? Does he just play video games? Like, do people tip him? Like, does he? Like, what is his Twitch channel? I would actually follow him. Oh, Fasterbed, you're Billy Mitchell? Wow, well, thank you. You've been really cool. I appreciate that, and I'm glad I didn't say anything bad about you. I can see Billy being the kind of guy that just blocks people left and right. Like if you come into the chat and say anything bad, about him, I'd say he's the kind of guy that just gets insta block, because I try, it's the moderators here that kind of have like Joey and Hero block or time out people, but like I try not to get people that are like too like you can complain about something, like there's people that could say like type in the stream like this is boring, or they type Z whatever, like they're falling asleep when Perry's being like low energy. And I would never like, okay, that's you shouldn't block people's real opinions, but I see somebody like Billy like blocking anything negative, and you can always tell if you go to somebody's YouTube channel and it's just all praise, like they're carefully curating all the chat comments, they're like deleting things and like stuff like that. But yeah, that's our video game talk for the night. But I just think it's funny how people, like, somebody actually, it's on YouTube, just last week beat the Super Mario Brothers. Speaking of Super Mario Brothers, somebody beat the all-time record for completing Super Mario Brothers, and it was, I believe, 4 minutes and 54 seconds, which is incredible, really. And if you watch it's only 4 minutes of your time if you watch it on YouTube. It's incredible, like, just, and how we all know that game so well, and just to see somebody playing it with such nuance and expertise, it's amazing. A couple of suggestions for Time Travel Tuesday. The guy Corey who slept over and was shocked at Windy City Heat and the baptism story. See, the problem with Perry is he doesn't remember everything. Like, he remembers Corey staying over. I don't know if he remembers to a certain point, but he couldn't tell you with vivid detail. And I think I remember getting vivid detail at the time it happened. But going back, we can cycle back to it. And I think a couple of times people have submitted tip comments about Corey. But yeah, so Corey was a friend of his cousin. And you're in desperate need when you're crashing at Perry's for a couple of nights. And then Perry was taking him to the bus station to wherever. And one of the nights, Perry was like, hey, you want to see my movie? Windy City Heat. And puts the movie on. And Windy City Heat plays. And it gets to the part. Now, this was never in the broadcast version. But on the director's cut, the DVD version, Perry talks about Randy Callahan, and the 1992 situation. Not in detail. But it was like a quick clip. It was like, yes, I did. And I remember seeing it on DVD. I was like, wait a second, that wasn't in the original version. No, I'm not staying at Perry's when I go there. Even for a bit, even to get footage from it, I couldn't do it. Under no circumstances will I stay there. But so this Corey guy sees that part of the movie and literally freaks out as the movie's playing, like leaps off the couch. It's like, wait, you did that? Is that for real? And Perry's like, yes, I did. Oh my God, he was disgusted. He left. He stormed out. Like, he was freaked out. Like, I think he was a Jehovah's Witness. And, they have all this brainwashing shit that, it's like against the Bible and all this nonsense. So he he was shocked, and Perry had to basically apologize and like calm him down. And it's it's on one of the podcasts from like a phone call conversation we had. I don't remember how long ago it was. Maybe it's like 2 years old. But yeah, he was like, they eventually made up. Perry eventually explained that it was a long time ago. And, he did what he had to do, and he was in a catch-22 situation. And Corey, look, where's he going to go? He's staying at Perry's apartment, because he's on hard times. Where's he going to go? And Perry is, and Perry was always a slave to his cousin if he asked him to do a favor. Jill, trust me, I'm going to be wearing a mask inside Perry's place. And I'm going to be wearing a shirt that I don't care about, that I can throw away. And I have all these, no, Sam is not that great of a guy. Well, he's not a bad guy. I like his cousin Mark a lot, the one he talks about who's a cook. Mark is not a Jehovah's Witness. And I'll tell you, Sam hasn't been talking to Perry as much since he left the Witnesses, which I think is bullshit, because it's one of those witness things where you you excommunicate basically your family members. And I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but I know he's been very distant, except whenever Perry has something for free, like when Perry was giving away his old monitor, like Sam came running over to take it. But like Mark is involved. His cousin Mark's kind of involved with the stream in a weird way, because he does a lot of Perry's accounting and stuff like that. So he's helpful, and I like Mark. Mark's a good guy. And I don't know his brother Kenny really. I've not really ever spoken to him. Yeah, I don't know what they call it. They call it Chum. It's weird. It's that whole religion is so weird. And like I've said before, it's still not easy that Perry left that. There's still gaps that need to be filled. So how hot is Amy? I don't know. I've never seen Amy, but if people say she's hot, she's gotta be hot. So, like, for instance, I've said this before, but like Perry had his meetings on Thursday nights, which he lived and died by. Like that was like a big deal. And now on Thursdays we have our business meetings where I call him at the same time he would do, like 10 o'clock my time in New York, 8 p.m. Fashionably says 8 years old and his dying wish is for me to say Perry as well. It's been nice knowing you. But anyway, so I call him on Thursdays and we kind of do a pseudo business meeting where we talk about the streams. We talk about what worked, what didn't work. We talk about, money he's making and debts he's paying off. And, this is what you have to spend this week and things like that. And I think it fills that void that he would normally have, because Thursdays, he obviously Perry's a guy that is somebody that is conditioned by habitual rituals that he's been doing his whole life. So, and then on Sunday, when he would normally do his service stuff, now it's a stream day, so that replaces that. But I'm not arrogant enough to think that was an easy break, and everything's fine. I know he still has conflicted thoughts about it, so it's an ongoing thing. But I'm still very proud of him for leaving that, and it was a long time coming, and it will still continue to be. Yeah, we are his new religion. That's very true. Dang, oh my, yeah, we are his new religion. It fills a void, because that's the one thing I was always afraid of. Not afraid of, but like, I don't want to take away somebody's religion, even though I know they're not a religion. They're not classified as a religion because they're a cult. But, he had people that he considered friends, and he had, some friends, because you leave it and then they just don't talk to you anymore. And also some friends, it's like, here's a guy that's like destitute, loses his disability, and they don't lift a finger. So, I don't feel any bad for that. But I think that this is a replacement in a way, even though he gets worked up and a lot of people hit him hard. I think it is a replacement for for his religion in a lot of ways. Please spill something on the grease chair. I don't know. Early on, I thought when I was going to go there, I was going to turn the microwave, and my whole move was going to be I was just going to walk over to it, literally push everything off that shelf, make it crash onto the floor, and quickly turn the microwave before he murders me, because he'd get to me pretty quick. But now I don't have to do that, because you know who your friends are when your chips are down. That's true. You find out who your friends really are. And I think in all seriousness, it's just, there's a nurturing aspect to Perry that goes beyond these streams. It's just like a full-time job, really. So, yeah, it's a process, and he does this 3 days a week, which I don't know if it'll always be 3 days a week, but dropped away. I was thinking of bashing it, like just smashing the ever living shit out of it. I don't know if he has a baseball bat in the apartment, but I was thinking about that. If we can raise enough money, maybe I just like get up and just like, before he can say anything, I just get up and just literally bash it to hell. Like, give it like with all my might and just like break the glass, smash it, kick it, throw it off the patio, like really just go for it. But yeah, he's got a plastic bat, but that doesn't count. I want like a wooden baseball bat that I could just literally pulverize it with. And then I'd buy him a microwave. Like the next day, I'd buy him a way nicer microwave. But it would be a visceral thing. But I don't know if that's too mean-spirited, I don't know if like I always think about a random person tuning into this stream and then seeing this guy just like trash this guy's microwave. Yeah. Oh, he'd kill me. I don't know. So I'm thinking about it. I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna work. Is the apartment tour where you find the disgusting item going to be? Yeah, I am going to put it on Patreon. It's just that there's so many things on Patreon now. I don't want to overload it in 1 month. I mean, I think Perry's Patreon's really solid. I think there's a lot of shit on there, a ton of stuff, and it's not just him reviewing food or movies anymore. It's like, there's solid things. There's like phone calls, voicemails, clips, and shit, and now there's the credenza level where you get the streams and stuff. So I'm just waiting for a time where there's like a little bit of breathing room, because I don't want to. To use a crude term, I don't want to shoot my load with Patreon in 1 month and then not have anything to post next month. So when I get a dry spell a little bit, probably next month, I will post that. I know I've talked it up. I will definitely post that. I didn't forget about it. And can we crowdfund the tattoo removal? I think we're going to have to. And I think we do that at a live show sometime. Yeah, I agree with that. It's not a typical lazy Patreon, and I think most Patreons are lazy. Like the YouTubers and podcasters that have Patreons, it's just like, hey, support me, but they don't give you anything back. I don't ever want to take people's money and not give something back. I think that's bullshit. So I think Perry's Patreon is up there with the best of Throwaway's Tony Alva frame. I like the Tony Alva frame because he doesn't see it as it's a total insult, but he hangs it up like it's a thing of pride, which is typical Perry. But yeah, the Patreon is loaded with content. I'm really happy with Patreon. I don't know if Tony Hawk Cameo. The thing about Tony Hawk Cameo, he's $250, and I just feel like, is there another celebrity we can get for the same money that would be better? But maybe Tony Hawk works for him, in a way that other celebrities wouldn't. But I feel like it's an obscene amount of money for Tony Hawk. Yeah, $45. Like, right. Like, I have one Patreon that I subscribe to. I subscribe to Gilbert Gottfried's Patreon because I used to listen to his podcast. I don't listen to it anymore, not because I just don't want to listen to it. I just haven't had the time. And they don't release anything. Like, they'll put out like polls and stuff. They might do an exclusive thing once a month, but most of it's bullshit. Perry, like, there's fucking loads of shit. If you sign up for Perry's Patreon, you'll have content for weeks. Like, it's thousands of hours at this point. It's a ton of stuff. But yeah, so I thought Tony Hawk was a little too high. But if people want to crowdsource it, that's fine, and we'll play it. I would love to do that. I was actually looking at like celebrity impersonators, and they have the balls to charge like $100 plus for like Tom Cruise and Robert De Niro impersonators who don't even look that great. And I'll tell you what this. Somebody says Perry is a content creator genius. He's gotten so much better because I used to have to beg him to record anything when we were just doing OnlyFans. Like, Perry, review this restaurant. Perry, order this food and review it. Perry, watch this movie and review it. And he would do an okay job. But now he will call me and be like, I just went to the gym for the first time, and I was like, okay. And I got it on my phone, and I recorded me working out so we could put it on Patreon. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, that's great. So I'm proud of him for that. Like, he knows the value of certain things now. Like, he like the pickle thing I showed on Friday. He recorded that on his own. I didn't tell him to do that. He went out. He's like, he was sent in 2 giant pickle jars, and one of the jars broke, and he cut himself on it, and he said it stunk like pickles, and he just knew intuitively. Like, he moved it out to the dumpster, and he recorded a little video of it, which I think is awesome. And then I showed that on the stream. Like, that it wouldn't be a Patreon thing, but like, he does other things. Like, once in a while he'll record something. I have stuff in the can that I never put up, like him reviewing. Like, he reviewed all 3 Karate Kids. I think one of them's up there. He reviewed Apocalypse Now. Again, it's just filler stuff, but the fact that he does it is impressive. That he's now getting into that idea. That he's a content creator, and he goes out of his way to like record certain things, which I think is awesome. Okay, we got a 2-minute warning, and then I got to sign off for reals, because now I'm actually tired and can probably fall asleep. Yeah, the Karate Kid review is up there now. That's like a month old. The first Karate Kid movie, and what he does this thing where he pauses the movie at certain points and then talks to the camera, and he's very good at it. Yeah, so he did Karate Kid 2, Karate Kid 3, and I think he started watching Cobra Kai, and he's going to review that. Like, probably like just the first season or whatever. But yeah, I thought it was funny because it's like it's so Reseda based, the Karate Kid, and also Cobra Kai. So I thought it'd be interesting to get his take on that. Yeah, I do bundle the clips for you. I do a thing called Patreon Showcase where I like edit like some stuff and put it up on like, you know, like Perry getting the chair and the award is a Patreon exclusive, and that's like 40 minutes, and then there's like a 15-minute version on YouTube. And if people see it and they want to sign up for Patreon, yeah. I hate people that force people, like I hate YouTubers that say subscribe and like my channel, and you know, it's like, hey, the way I look at it is if you're watching something on YouTube and it's good enough, you will subscribe to it. Like Perry on YouTube, you're going to subscribe to that if you like it. And I don't want to beg people to do it. I don't want to beg people to join Patreon, even though Patreon is very helpful to me personally. I'm not going to beg people to join it. I think it's worth it. I think there's a lot of great content on it. And yeah, and by the way, and he promoted his YouTube a couple of times on his own. And he just says, follow my YouTube at youtube.com. I'm like, well, that's not exactly linking your YouTube page. But he tries. You know, he tries. And he's been getting better at it. You know, and he is a content creator. So I'm going to give this a 1-minute warning, and then I'm going to shut down. Are we having each country have its own thing going on, or all? Maybe if we get to the point where we'll do like today's for German fans, you know. But I think the next Sunday is going to be International Subscriber Sunday, and anybody outside of North America is how it counts. And I'm expecting somebody to like slip in a phone number from you know, like an American, and they'll just do a really bad like accent, like, you know, like they'll do like Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins, like, hello, I'm from England, I am, and I want to call for Subscriber Sunday International. How are you doing? Cheerio. And Perry, of course, you know, he doesn't have any sniff for that. He'll be like, oh, very nice, calling from England, I see, yeah. That's right, I am. I'm from England, and I watch your streams all the time. You know, it would be nice if we busted somebody like, "You're not English. I know an English accent, and that is not it. Good day. Let me get a real international fan." That's a nice thing to say, Hendrik. I don't know if you realize this, but I listen to you like I used to listen to Stern. Well, that's a serious compliment. Thank you very much. I'm going to find that Magic Johnson thing that I edited back in 1998, and I'll upload. I'll figure out. I'll put it in a Discord or something. I don't know where to upload it. I'll upload it online where you can download it, and because I think even if you're not a Stern fan, you'll enjoy it. It's just Howard trashing Magic Johnson's talk show for hours and hours and hours at a time, and to me, it's just, I haven't listened to it in a long time, and actually talking about it makes me want to listen to it again. That's how good it is. So I'll find a good place to post. I'll put a link in a Discord or something. Hello, Governor. I'm calling from London, I am. No, you are not. But yeah, like a guy from South Korea is going to get a call, like he's already written in. You know, it should be interesting to see, like, you know, I know there's a ton of Australian fans and England, Ireland, Canada, of course. But I really am interested to hear like the other parts of the world that pop up, because it'll be interesting just to see the reach. Yeah. Hello, Governor. Just do like, somebody's got to do that. Somebody's got to call in with like the absolute worst. It doesn't have to be English. It could be any accent, but it's got to be bad, and see if he picks it out. See if he. I don't think he will, but it's got to be ungodly awful. Yeah. Well, what would be really awesome would be North Korea. I don't think that's possible. Somebody said, yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, somebody calls up saying they're from Wakanda. Hey, I'm a big fan from Wakanda. Like, see if he gets that. Yeah, I think there's some. I think there's some comedy in there to be had, especially if we're light on calls. 'Cause I want to go heavy on calls next week. And see, the problem with Subscriber Sunday is when you go heavy on the calls, the tip comments get really backed up. So, yeah, it could be a long one. So it's a good thing we're starting at 12. So, get your drinks ready. It'll be in here for the long haul. Anyway. It's about checkout time for me. I got to be up in 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 hours. And that should be fun. I'm going to upload this immediately so it's ready tomorrow for the Patreon credenza level people. And we'll see you on Tuesday for Time Travel Tuesday. And like I said, I think after this week, because this week he's taping the Big 3 podcast on Wednesday. And I think next week we're going to try a Sunday, Wednesday, Friday schedule rather than Tuesday. And we'll see how that works. But yeah, I'm going to go to bed. Don't worry. I'm good. I'm going to wash my face and brush my teeth and change. And then I'm going to go to bed. And yeah, but I'm going to start the upload process. It'll probably finish in the morning. This is huge. This is over 6 hours. So I'll see. Luckily, I don't think he said anything terrible tonight, so I don't have to edit anything. Friday, I edited. After the show was over, I stayed up and I edited the whole goddamn thing because he said he dropped the F-bomb at one point, and it wasn't that big of a deal. It was like on the after. It was on the. I think the official. I was trying to think of an official word for this part of the stream, and I think I came up with after hours with TomB and occasionally Perry. So I call it officially after hours. Because I couldn't think of anything else. I was trying to come up with an official name for it. So I think I settled on after hours. Am I single? Asking for a friend? Well, it depends on who your friend is. Yeah, he said the Q word isn't bad. It's just the way he says it is so nasty. He says it with such a nasty connotation. So I was going in there and I was just editing and I was like, well, I might as well just do the whole friggin' thing. So I just stayed up all night editing it, and then I uploaded and I went to bed like around 7. But it wasn't that bad of an edit. I just cut out certain things and I put that one up on. But now it's ready to go on YouTube for when I catch up. Porno Hub time with Tom and Perry. That's good. Yeah, so I don't know so I think I settled on after hours. Sometimes it's with Perry. And there was one I found, the one, I think it was the Deep Dish Squish stream where he sat on the pizza. It was from the end of March where we talked like this for like an hour, and then he came back, if you remember that. So I'm going to put that on Patreon tomorrow because I'm going to put some of these after shows on Patreon. What's the one word without giving it away that you fear he's going to say? He might have said it right. Like, Jerexy says he fears one word of him saying. What could that possibly? Do my skipped comments get cut? Sometimes, not all the times. And it's just for not encouraging other people for, like there's, he's never going to say it. He's not going to say the N-word. I've never heard it. I mean, some people have said that he said it like on some podcast sometime. In my history of dealing with him, I've never heard that word out of his mouth. I'm not worried about that. He would only say it in context of like, these are words you shouldn't say, but I think he's even smart enough to realize you just don't say that. I'm not worried about that. At all. I think he's... No, Perry is Perry racist towards anything? No, and I always hear that when somebody gives like a list of things. He's an ungrateful, homophobic, racist. Racist is one that doesn't fit because he is not racist, and he's just not. He doesn't have a racist bone in his body. I mean, he's gullible and thing. Yeah, people say he said it on the Big 3. I don't remember that. But I don't know what the context was. Not that there is an acceptable context for it, but Get him to rank the hottest girls by race. It's probably Danger Zone. Yeah, he said it at the meeting. He said that word at the meeting, but did he really say it? I don't know. Yeah, and the OJ thing, that's going back to 1994, not to justify, but I have been talking to Perry on an almost daily basis for like 8 years now, and I've never heard him say it. So, for whatever that means, I don't see that being an issue. Yeah, Dexter Coleman. Even when he does that impression now, I get a little cringy. Like, oh, this is going down a weird, because it's out of context, and you gotta think of everything as in context to new people now coming in. Because I see people like, oh, how Tom? Ooh, somebody just wrote Tom's Graveyard Shift. That's not bad, but I'm gonna stick with After Hours. But that's good. Toon Time. It's too goofy. Anything pure. I don't want to do anything derivative of anything else. But yeah, I mean, again, I think people evolve. Are you Dexter Coleman? Like, I don't know. I don't like Tombstone. I don't even like Tomb so much, the nickname. I like the TomB because Perry came up with that. But I think there's some other guy that goes by Tombstone. I wouldn't want to do it. Tom After Dark, TomB After Dark, Tom Time After Time. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll play around with it. Last Call. Yeah, but see, there's a Carson Daly Last Call. I don't want to be derivative. Like I want it to be something that, not that After Hours hasn't been used, but TomB doing comedy. TomB. It's not just TomB because sometimes Perry's on it. So I gotta include him. Tom's the closing time that goes on for like hours. TomB before bed. Pillow talk with Tom. We could throw it around, but nightcap with Tom. That's not bad. But yeah. Spider-Man supervillain is Tombstone. Tombstone. Show's over with Tom. That's not bad. Even though it's not a show. Somebody's gonna I was calling it the after show, but wait, I always say that it's not a show, it's a stream, so I don't want to contradict myself by calling it a show. How do you watch the recent streams? Well, all the streams end up on YouTube eventually, and right now I'm about 2 weeks behind on YouTube. But if you want to see the shows instantly, you can go on Patreon, and there's a new credenza level Patreon, and those are uploaded within 24 hours. Usually the next day at some point, but within 24 hours of air, they will go on Patreon. And eventually, as they go up on YouTube, I will take them down off Patreon. But I'll keep the after shows on, if there are any. Those will stay up on Patreon. That's you being sweet. I call it the best part of the stream with TomB. Thank you. That's nice of you guys to say. And I'll eventually get a camera or something like that. We'll make it more visually interesting than this. We're in our early stages. I'll get that sorted out over the summer. It's just I got a busy couple of months. And I'm moving. You see, here's the deal about leaving them on Patreon is the bandwidth, because Vimeo is the video service that you use with Patreon, and they like the streams like this, like over 6 hours. If you're doing it 3 days a week, it adds up, and then you'd have to get to a higher tier, and like they charge like an insane amount of money, as it is just for the videos I have up there. So it would be anything gifted, Tom, tech wise. Well. No, yes, a long list, but I'm really looking for a impossible to find video card to make these streams look better. But it's just impossible to find those in video cards. Yeah, the RTX 3090 I do not have, nor do I have the 3080. Just can't find them, and I have people out on it. I have like professionals that like have the software to like peg them, and nobody's been able to come up with one, because it'll make it look a little better. It'll make it look a lot better. I also want to see if I can upgrade Perry's camera when I go out there. I realize I can't do everything on this trip. I want to upgrade his lighting a little bit and just make some tweaks here and there, deliver a new computer. Perry did not go straight to bed. You know what he did. Yeah, they're scarce. The video cards are scarce because of the Bitcoin miners. It's impossible. It's impossible to find one. But I've been getting by on the onboard, video card. And eventually I'll get one, and we'll upgrade it. And then, I don't know if I'm going to do Perry in 4K or anything like that. But this is what I like about the stream, is I like that the stream has the 3080 would be nice. What I like about the streams is that it's Perry's apartment, which is obviously has its problems, but there's a high production value to the stream. Like, I like the graphics, and again, that's all Scott that designs those, but I love the high production value of the streams, the sound effects and the way everything looks and the layout. It looks way more professional than it has any right to be, which is what I like. How much did you sell your 3090 on eBay for? I'm guessing around in the neighborhood of $3,000. Is that about right? Because the way I look at it, the 3080s are so overpriced that you might, if you're going to be spending that much money on a 3080, you might as well just get a 3090 at retail. Yeah, that's about what they go for, $3,000. It's ridiculous. I'm not doing that. I refuse. And I can probably it's a business expense. Brennan Entertainment can expense that, but I'm not doing it. I can't spend that much money on a fucking video card, especially that I don't game. 3070, no, I have my heart set on a 3080 or a 3090 at this point. I feel like that's what I want. I've waited this long, that's what I want. You know what I mean? You get your heart set on certain things. That's what I want. I do need an older card for Perry's PC. That I'm not spending top of the line, but if I can get an older card for Perry's PC, which I'm going to bring out to him next month, that I will. Yeah, I saw that the 3080 Ti is coming out soon. I know I play games, like I've said earlier. I play console games. Like I'm a Nintendo fan, but I don't do. That's right. John has a card for me for Perry's computer, but I don't do PC games because I'm in front of the PC so much, especially now with work where I'm like editing stuff and like writing stuff. I have to separate work and play, and I don't want to sit in front of my computer and play games and zone out when it's like my workstation. If I want to play a game, I want it to be on my couch where I'm comfortable and I got a comfortable controller and, stuff like that, even though I don't even do that. I'll play just comfort games. That's why I like the Switch. I'll play comfort games like Mario games, Pac-Man 99 and stuff like that. I just want a quick in and out game. I don't want an ongoing, overarching, insane story like Doom Eternal, which I'll eventually get back to, but it's just I just didn't have the attention span for it or the time for it to dedicate myself. Although last year it was weird. I was playing this time last year because it was right before Doom. It was right when Doom Eternal came out, and they released all the because I really liked the 2016 Doom, and I loved that game. But they re-released all the Doom games for like dirt cheap for all the consoles, like Doom, the original Doom 2, Doom 64, and Doom 3. And I had never played Doom 3, which is kind of like the redheaded stepchild of the Doom series. And I really liked it. It was like a horror version of the Doom series. It wasn't as it took the power away from the Doomslayer, where you weren't as almighty as you are in the other Doom games. But I really liked it, and that's what I was doing this time last year. I had never played Doom 3 when it came out, and I played it on the PS4, and it was great. And I played all the expansion packs too, every single one of them. And it took me a couple of months. Yeah, right. Doom 3 is not the Slayer. It's not canon. It's not part of the overall story. You're sweet, Dank. Yeah. Not to be a buzzkill, but TomB has funeral stuff to do tomorrow. Don't let me tell you what to do. I'm just looking out for you. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's not funeral stuff. What I have to do is identify the body. When we're getting the body cremated, and so there's not a funeral per se, but I have to get the body taken care of. And it's for my friend in Ireland who lost his aunt, and my friend's father who lost his sister, and I'm the only person in New York that they know. So he reached out to me and he said, I know this is a lot to ask, but can you help us? Because can you imagine, like, you're in Ireland and you're calling over to New York City and you're trying to get all these numbers, and they don't give a shit. They're just like, oh, you got to call this number, you got to call that number, and they're making all these international calls, and they're already bereft of the loss of their their aunt and sister. And I said, I'll take over this. I'll do all this. So let me see what I got to do. And so there's a couple of things. I have to get access to her apartment in the city, which you got to deal with this like segregates court, and they never answer their phone, and I've left messages. No, Jill, I'm not looking at the dead body. I'm looking at a picture of the dead body. So what you would do pre-COVID is you'd have to go to I can go to the medical examiner's office, and they show you a picture, and you have to identify the body and say that's the body. Then they release it to the funeral home, and it's good to know. And eventually we all have to do this. Unfortunately, in our lives, like we lose a loved one, and so this is the first time I'm really doing this, and it's so I have to go tomorrow to meet with the funeral director. And what they did is I gave him the ME case number. The medical examiner has a case number, and this woman died. Like she died. Yeah, and here's the deal. Like, just to give a backstory to this, so a whole group of women came over from Dublin in the late 50s, early 60s, and they all worked in the city. And they were all friends, and they all started a new life in New York City, and working different jobs. They came over in a big group, and she stayed over. And she worked for St. Patrick's Cathedral. She was like the personal assistant to the Cardinals. I met her a couple of times. My friend Kevin, who lives in Dublin, he's a very good friend of mine. And I met her a couple of times, not recently. But they all died off over the years, and she's the last one. And she had cancer. She died in her sleep, probably. They didn't hear from her. The police had to break the door down, so they found the body maybe about 10 days ago now. And so he messaged me and said, hey, can we talk? Can I give you a call and explain the situation? I said, listen, I'll handle this. But it's all these things. So it's getting access to the apartment's one thing, but the one thing that had to be taken care of is the body, because the medical examiner, the medical examiner will only hold the body for a certain amount of time. Sometimes it's 2 weeks to 30 days. If it's unclaimed. So then what they had to do in Ireland is they had to go to their attorney, solicitor as they call it over there. They granted me power of attorney, which I had to show to send to a detective, and I got to go to the 13th precinct tomorrow as well, and then show it to the funeral director, and then that gives me the authority for the funeral home to communicate with the medical examiner's office. Once that's in place, which I did, and now the medical examiner's office, they take a picture of the body, send it over to the funeral home, and then tomorrow I have to go there and identify the body. And I have pictures, and I vaguely remember what she looked like, but it's a weird thing. So I just want to take care of this for them, because I know if it was me, God forbid, in a similar situation, I would want somebody to take point on this, and so I'm doing that tomorrow, and then we can at least arrange for. And I told them I'd pay for all fees up front, and then we'll talk about the cost later. And then they're going to come over at some point, probably late summer, and then we'll have a big like Irish goodbye and like spread the ashes around the city, wear like black suits, get really drunk, and give her a really proper send off. Maybe have a small ceremony or something, but. But this stuff needs to be done right now, getting the body. Now the body's going to get cremated, and I'm gonna keep the ashes, and then they're gonna pick out an urn or whatever, and then when they come over here, we'll do the ceremonies. But I said I would keep the ashes. I would take care of all costs and stuff, and then at the time, yeah, there's gonna be drinking involved when we spread those ashes. I might have to take a night off of the stream when Kevin is in town. But so I'm doing that, and then the separate thing I have to do is get access to her apartment, because the will is in there, and they can't get that. Her phone book is in there, and they don't know any of her other people that she would know that need to be informed that she passed away. So there's a lot of things to do. So that's what I have to do tomorrow. Is go to this funeral home and do this. But then once it's done, and then they'll feel good about it, the family in Ireland, because it's an unprecedented situation, because you got COVID messing it up too, because they can't come over necessarily because of COVID, and because Ireland's pretty bad. And then imagine if they didn't know me, like what would they do? Like I'm surprised. I'm sure this has come up before. But so her stuff, the family has requested that furniture and stuff gets donated to the church, and clothing will get donated to various charities, and then I'll see what else is in there. But yeah, it's always a mess when somebody dies, but especially when you're 3,000 miles away in another country and you don't have that that stuff to do. So, damn, Tom, you're still here. I thought when Perry was gone you would stay for 1 hour, so I came back and you're still there. Yeah, well, I was actually using the stream too to kind of lull me to a sleepy state, which I have entered now. So yeah, it's just it gets back to my original point. Is like, you have to be a good human being at your core and look out for other people. And is Perry demanding your will funds? Well, we'll see, maybe. But you have to be a good person at your core, and that's how you should live your life. You can be an asshole, which I can be at certain times, and you can be a jerk. You can be salty, whatever. But Ireland is pretty bad, but the death rate of COVID is small. Yeah, that's what I've heard. But you got to be a good person and look out for your fellow man. It's like it takes a, I can't explain it really. But it's like with the whole thing with Perry. I think Perry's a good person at heart, and I have to look out for him, and so yeah, it's not like I'm a saint or anything. It's just like, yeah, I would want this to happen. I would want somebody to do this for me, and I can't hear. I'm not going to have a very good friend of mine, and the thing is, I have a lot of good friends that are spread out around the world. Like, one of my best friends is in New Zealand. He was a New Yorker that moved to New Zealand, and my friend Kevin in Dublin is one of my best friends, and I'm not going to hear him have this problem, and if I can solve it and I'm here and not be able to do it, of course I'm going to do it. So yeah, that's just the way it is. So okay, we'll wrap up here, and we'll see you guys on Tuesday. And the upload might be late on this tomorrow for obvious reasons, but I'll get it up there on Patreon. Thanks, Gorilla Pop. You're a great Tom. You're the real goat, Tom. I'll speak for all of us. To say we can't thank you enough for you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And you guys have been awesome. There's the occasional person in the chat that's like, shut the fuck up, Tom. Fuck Tom. Fuck this guy. Which I don't get too upset by. I really don't. I have a thick skin. If you're on the internet somehow and you're doing some kind of thing on the internet, and like 3 people out of 100 talk shit about you, you're doing something right. So I don't get bothered by that at all. And plus, I'm an opinionated asshole, so I can't come off on other opinionated assholes for having an opinion on me. So I'd be a hypocrite, for fuck's sake. So I can't beat Mike Tyson in Punch-Out anymore. I don't have that muscle memory in me. I'd have to take it to YouTube to do it. I can get everybody else up until Mike Tyson. Yeah, maybe I'll do a solo stream. I don't know if I do it on Perry's account or another one, whatever. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. I got enough shit on my plate right now. Have I thought about having a little icon or nameplate that lights up when I talk? Maybe. Yeah, maybe that's something. That's a Scott question. That's not a me question. No, I don't think you kill off your character. I mean, if you kill it off, create a new one. I beat Mike Tyson once, like when the game came out, maybe like a year later, maybe like in '99. I beat him once, not '99, '89. I beat him once when I was a kid, and I had the code to get right to Mike Tyson because I got up that far, and yeah, you can't miss a move. You got to be perfect with Mike Tyson. You can't you can't miss a move. But I did it once, and that was enough. That was enough for me. You know, I need to beat a game once, and then I don't need to revisit it and beat it. I can jump into Punch Out and get up to a certain point and then get my ass kicked, and I have fun with it. But that's what I hate about the fucking the NES Classic is they don't have the Mike Tyson version. They have the Mr. Dream Punch Out, which is bullshit. I know that's the original arcade version, but it's Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Come on. So you have to have like a hacked, ROM or whatever to play it, which I do, of course. What's my favorite memory of Perry? I'd have to take some time to think about that. It's probably a nice memory. I don't know. I'd have to really think about that. I don't have an immediate answer. Ask me again the next time we do this, and I might have an answer. I'd have to really. I don't want to invent an answer that's not genuine. But the pool punch. No, it's probably a sweet moment. It's probably not a funny moment. It's probably a sweet moment. Yeah, it's fucking 3 a.m. I gotta go. Anyway, I'm gonna deal with that tomorrow, and we'll. Thanks for hanging out. I mean, all these, that's the other thing too. It's weird. It's weird that I always look at the viewers that are on, and I'm like, wow, this many people just fucking watching a car drive the road, down the road, and listen to me ramble and interact with the chat. Maybe we'll do a thing where you guys, on Subscriber Sunday, maybe I can call subscribers and we can have actual conversations. Maybe we'll do that next Sunday or something. You like my duet with JQA? Yeah. I was hoping that would be the grand finale. That's why I put in that. But maybe we'll do like calls on the after hours stream. Maybe that's the next evolution, and we can have real conversations. But okay, I am going to go to bed for reals, and thank you all as usual for coming in and all your support with Perry, all your support with me, and it's greatly appreciated. And thanks for being a part of this channel. It's weird. I see a tip came in from Andy Dick, but I'll play that on Tuesday, first thing, and I'll play Larry's tip from earlier. Yeah, that's a trick. That's a trick that people are doing now. They get their tips in early. Like if you send a tip tomorrow, like a tip comment, it'll play on Tuesday. 20-minute warning. No, I'm really going now. Thank you guys, and I will speak to you later.